What's up YouTube, it's Shaunty Hall here, and with the draft order solidified, I think it's time for me to update my mock draft. This will again be two parts, this video being 1 through 5 and the next being 6 through 10. But before we dive right into that, I just want to say that I hit 200 subs recently and I want to thank you guys for all your support. My goal for this channel has always been to create a good community to talk basketball with, and you guys are helping me achieve that. But let's get into this mock draft. The player I believe the Phoenix Suns will select with the #1 pick is DeAndre Ayden. DeAndre Ayden is a 7'1", 250-pound center who played for the University of Arizona this past college basketball season. There, he averaged 20.1 points, 11.6 rebounds, and 1.6 assists. He shot 61% from the field and 34% from behind the three-point line, or about 1 attempt per game. He also shot 73% from the free throw line. Moving on to his strength, I think offensively he has a solid set of post moves that are NBA ready, and on top of that, he has a great mid-range jump shot that I think will translate well into the NBA. I also believe he has the potential to stretch that shot out even further onto the three-point line. He also has elite physical tools, so I don't think he'll have any problem dealing with larger players in the NBA. He's far from the perfect prospect though. His defensive instincts and awareness are below average from what you'd like to see from your starting center. Some of this can be credited to the fact that he played out of position at Arizona, but he still seems to want to play power forward in the NBA, so if he does, he'll probably struggle there too. The reason I believe the Suns should draft him is because he feels a big need for them at the center position. They also really need a point guard, but they do have the 16th pick and some tradable young assets, so I think that's more easily attainable. I also don't believe that the Suns are going to be tanking anymore, and I think Ayden gives them the best chance to be competitive as soon as possible. He's a player that can come in and immediately take scoring pressure off of Devin Booker and Josh Jackson. But that's my #1 pick. Phoenix Suns, DeAndre Ayden. Now moving on to #2. And with the second pick in the 2018 NBA draft, the player I believe the Sacramento Kings will select is Luka Doncic. Doncic is a 6'8" forward who is currently playing for Real Madrid. There, he is averaging 14.5 points, 5.2 rebounds, 4.7 assists. He's also shooting 46% from the field and 31% from behind the three-point line, and he's shooting 80% from the free throw line. As far as strengths go for Doncic, you won't find a prospect with higher basketball IQ. I believe his court vision is already at an elite level, and although I don't think his handles are great, he's shown to be creative enough to get his own shot off. I also believe that he's a better shooter than people give him credit for. The percentages are low right now, but he's taking a lot of shots off the dribble. I think as time passes and he develops in the NBA, that shot will start to look a lot better. There are a few big concerns with Doncic though, the biggest of which is his level of athleticism. I think he'll enter the NBA as an average to below average athlete. I think he'll struggle getting by most 2s and 3s in the NBA. He'll also likely struggle with keeping himself in front of them. As time goes on and he gets more NBA level training, this will eventually improve. But at his current athletic level, it definitely makes you question what his ceiling can be. There's also the question of how long it'll take his three-point shot to develop into something consistent. Because if that's not there for him early on, how does he score? Again though, like I said, I'm confident that that will develop for him. Now on to the reason I believe the Kings should select Luka Doncic. The biggest reason being because the Kings lack talent and Doncic is the best player available. I don't believe any player on the Kings besides maybe De'Aaron Fox has any real star potential. And I believe of the remaining players in this class that Doncic has one of the highest ceilings. Something else to keep in mind is that the Kings don't have their first round draft pick next year. So missing on this pick would be really devastating to their rebuild. And I believe because of Doncic's high basketball IQ, that makes him one of the safer picks in this draft. But that's my #2, Sacramento Kings, Luka Doncic. Now moving on to #3. And with the third pick in the 2018 NBA draft, I believe the Atlanta Hawks will select Jaren Jackson Jr. He's a 6'10" power forward or center who played for Michigan State this past college season. There, he averaged 10.9 points, 5.8 rebounds, 1.1 assists, while shooting 51% from the field and 39% from the three-point line on nearly 3 attempts per game. And he also shot 79% from the free throw line. As far as his strengths go, to me he has easily the highest defensive upside of any player in this class. In college, he was blocking 3.2 shots per game in just 21 minutes. So he obviously projects as a great rim protector, but it's not just that. He's also comfortable and skillful enough to go defend players on the perimeter, which is really important when you think about what you want from a modern NBA big man. Offensively, Jaren Jackson Jr. is one of the best shooters of all the bigs in this draft. He's also taking nearly 4 attempts a game, so that shows that he was extremely comfortable taking that shot. So I have no doubt that it'll translate well into the NBA. As far as weaknesses go with Jackson, he'll probably struggle to stay on the floor a bit early on in his career. This is mostly due to fouls, and it's the main reason he didn't play as much as he should have at Michigan State. This is something that he'll definitely improve on as he develops more in the NBA. Another problem with Jaren Jackson Jr. is outside of his shot, he's still pretty raw offensively. He doesn't really have a developed post game yet. He does commit a few too many turnovers. Now, the reason I believe the Hawks will select Jaren Jackson Jr. is because their roster lacks talent, and I believe he's the best player available. I also believe that he'll pair very nicely with John Collins to give the Hawks a good front court for the future. One last thing is that the new Atlanta Hawks head coach Lloyd Pierce talked about how important defense was going to be for their future, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is a great place to start. But that's my number 3 pick, Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Atlanta Hawks. Now moving on to number 4. And with the 4th pick in the 2018 NBA draft, the player I believe the Memphis Grizzlies will select is Marvin Bagley. Bagley is a 6'10" power forward who played for Duke this past college season. There, he averaged 21 points, 11.1 rebounds, and 1.5 assists. He also shot 61% from the field, 39% from the three-point line on nearly 2 attempts per game, and 62% from the free throw line. As far as strengths go, when watching Marvin Bagley, the thing that really grabs you is his next level athleticism. He's definitely one of the most athletic bigs in this class and probably one of the better athletes overall. He also seems to be a naturally great scorer. He finishes well around the rim, and he also shoots pretty comfortably from the college three-point line. But the thing that I think really separates him from other bigs is his ability to handle the ball. If he can continue to develop this in the NBA, you're looking at an elite offensive talent. But I do have some pretty big concerns with him. The first of which being is that he's a very poor defender, and that's actually something I don't see changing. He really struggled at Duke until they switched to a zone, and the NBA is not going to be any easier. My other issue is that he doesn't really finish well with his right hand, and he can't bully people like he did in college. I believe if that doesn't develop for him, it really limits his scoring potential in the NBA. Now, the reason I believe the Grizzlies should draft him and why he's a great fit is because he brings impact offensively immediately. The Grizzlies are trying to be competitive next year, and scoring is something they're in desperate need of. Also, they don't need him to come in and be a rim protector, as they have Marc Gasol to serve that purpose. But that's my number 4 pick, Marvin Bagley to Memphis Grizzlies. Now moving on to number 5. And the player I believe the Mavericks will select with the 5th pick in the 2018 NBA draft is Mo Bamba. Bamba is a 6'11" center who played for the University of Texas this past college season. There, he averaged 12.9 points, less than 1 assist, and 10.5 rebounds. He also shot 68% from the field and 27% from behind the three-point line on about 2 attempts per game, and 68% from the free throw line. I believe when talking about strength for Mo Bamba, the first thing you need to look at is how elite his physical tools are. He has a 6'10" wingspan, which is going to be one of the longest in NBA history. Just that gives him the potential to be an elite rim protector in the future. But he's also extremely fast for his size and projects to be a great rim running type of center as well. One last thing I'll say for Bamba is that even though the percentages were low, he seemed fairly comfortable taking a college three-point shot. That gives me hope that he'll be able to at least develop a consistent mid-range at the NBA level. Now moving on to weaknesses, Bamba's biggest flaw is that he's very raw offensively. If he's ever going to be a real scoring threat in the NBA, it won't be anytime soon. He doesn't really have any move that he can go to and just seems very inconsistent on that end of the floor. Another concern that I have for Mo Bamba is that he's just 225 pounds and he has a very thin frame. So there's definitely questions about how well he'll do defending bigs in the post in the NBA. Now, the reason I believe the Mavericks should draft him is because this team really needs a center. It's their weakest position on their roster by far. And remember, like I said, Mo Bamba is a very, very raw prospect, and the Mavericks have a very good coach in Rick Carlisle, who I think can get the most out of him. But that's it for my NBA mock draft. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and subscribe. If you don't want to miss part 2, go ahead and turn notifications on, and I'll see you guys next time.